Boom. Rocking and rolling. All right, let me grab this link here. Sweet, man. Again, bro, I appreciate you coming on. And I definitely love the topic that we're going to be getting into, as this is certainly something that can be sensitive for a lot of people.
For sure.
Naturally. So, all right, almost done here. 1 second. Se me está yendo suavecito esto. Okay, we'll share here. Cool. And
There's like a
copy.
huge delay.
Yeah, that one's on me right now, just because I'm running a lot right now. I'm closing it out.
Okay.
Okay, that should speed it up a little bit at least. I'm sending the link to myself to then send it to you. Wonderful. Boom. And there you go. And you're rocking there. All right, let me minimize that. All right, so you got it on your end.
All right, I'm gonna send it out. Give me a second.
Wonderful. For those of you that are hopping on, what's going on? We'll be starting our interview right now. This is just a pre-show. We got DJ Dougy Fresh from Chicago in the building. He is now a active and ready to rock and roll salsero bachatero world champion, contributing to the Miami scene. So we're excited about that. So we're just prepping up some tech over here, letting everybody know that we're gonna get rocking and rolling, and making all that happen here. So welcome. Feel free to comment any questions that you have, so that you can participate alongside us. We are live with DJ Dougy Fresh. I'm gonna ask you about that name, by the way, my bro.
Okay, no worries. Paste.
Okay, we are live with DJ Dougy Fresh right now. Join the convo about EGOS.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Beautiful. Boom. And then we'll schedule this to be sent at 7 p.m. And we're ready to rock and roll. We got over 750 people subscribed to our, particularly the podcast text list. So they'll be notified right at 7 o'clock with that link. I let them know earlier today that we were on. Just standard procedure for the podcast. Okay, cool. All right. So some of the questions that I wanted to ask you before. So do you have, I guess, are people familiar with you here in Miami, or do you feel like you're starting from scratch, with regards to the scene is concerned? Like, do you feel that your history, I mean, without you having to tell them, of course, right? Because your resume, for lack of better words, definitely says a lot about you and your experience. But I guess before that, do you feel that it's been easy, or your history has helped without having to have, I guess, let everybody know, or like manually one at a time?
So it was starting from scratch. Just because the community here is very new when it comes to bachata.
Sure.
So it would, and I think it's a good thing. You know, you start off with, you know, on a fresh slate with everyone. It's a brand new community, so you get to show them someone that you want them to know. You know.
For sure. Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it, man. And to be super honest with you, bro, the reason why I originally reached out to you to begin with was because we've I've been doing this literally my whole life. I actually took over my business when I was 19. I'm 35 now, and literally have just been trying to create platforms for people such as yourself to just be able to reach more people. You know what I mean? Like, so the fact that
Yeah.
you're, utilizing the tools, if you would, and again, it's just for Miami's sake. That's really what we're just trying to do, and just in general is just promote a unified community. Simply because, I mean, at the end of the day, until like there are insane until there is a packed Friday and Saturday night here in Miami for salsa and bachata, like with a lot of different options. There's a lot of work to be done still. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
okay, like you can, okay, you can pack, you know, and in a public place too. One thing is obviously our own studios, but
Right.
to get to a public place that a club owner or a bar owner, if you would, is going to let you in and substitute their reggaeton or their whatever they got going on that night, that
Yeah.
we as a community can is are worth um, the time and space, as messed up as that sounds,
That's true.
from a business level, right? I mean, we need to, at the end of the day, warrant our existence. Ouch. I mean, obviously we have our own spaces, and you stepped into a beautiful space, which was previously UV, which I had a lot of respect for, and
Correct.
they were a great team. And you stepping in there seems to be amazing. Again, after the little bit that I know about you now, to try to kind of just continue to fill that role of just bringing everybody together. You know what I mean? Which I
Yeah.
think is important. Which I think is really important.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean it's a just like anything, it can be scary trying something new for people. So them a lot of the students that were there, you know, they might not be super accepting of us because they just don't know yet. You know, they think that we're probably trying to replace Yuri and Vera, and that's not the case. Like
Right.
I love Yuri and Vera. They're very good friends of mine. I've known them 20 plus years.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
so oh yeah. So I mean I spoke to Uriel not too long ago and he's like, if anybody was to take it, I'm glad it was you. You know, those were his exact words.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, and we're gonna have them. Well, I'm gonna have Uriel come out to the studio when he gets some, you know, some time to teach at our socials and stuff.
Nice. Were they? Did they? Is there a specific reason? Like, are they just retiring? They're just because I know they've been doing it for a while too. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't really get into their business, so I'm
Sure.
not sure what happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Understandable. But yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely, at least for me, I mean, I guess I'm not necessarily as plugged in, but for me, it seemed sudden. Um, but
It was for
again, I
everyone.
mean, say it again.
It was completely sudden for everyone.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. So then
Yeah.
I'm not the only one then. Okay. All right. So for those of you guys that are hopping on right now we're in the pre-show. We got DJ Dougie Fresh in the building. We're about to go ahead and talk about a sensitive yet very important topic, specifically egos. Which, of course, as you know, this is what we do here on Salsa Kings Live. We'll be starting up in a little over 6 minutes, so right at 7 p.m. So stick around for that. Feel free to show some love and or questions in the comments, so you can go ahead and participate with us. Right now, we're just catching up, so that we can go ahead and have a successful interview here. Okay, so cool, man. So you're offering what specifically? If you were to say that you were to have main genres that you're offering at the dance center, genres, dance styles is probably a better word.
Yeah, so we focus mainly on teaching on one and also bachata sensual and all techniques for these dances. You know, I prefer on two, but literally our neighbors are Flavor Factory,
Right.
and they're Alex is one of my good friends, and that's all they do. So why would I interfere with that when there's a whole nother market for on one? You know what I
Sure.
mean? So we focus on one, and we focus on bachata sensual, bachata technique, just competitions, whatever people want to do.
Sweet. Was because you had mentioned that you won the bachata cabaret.
Correct.
Is that um I guess it doesn't really matter whether it's sensual or Dominican, if you would. I guess either works as long as you're on the timing. Is that right?
Yeah, so there isn't a genre for bachata cabaret. It's bachata, right? So the focus is in timing and lifts.
Right. 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 And when you say okay, yeah, so there's no category for bachata dominicana, is what you're saying, or the original. That's what.
Correct.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's just bachata as an open, yeah.
Correct. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. All right. So cool. So then, is that how long have is your fiance your dance partner?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Cool, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you won? Did you win the titles all with her?
Yes.
Wow. That's
Yeah, and
dude. That's awesome.
yeah, it was interesting. We had only been working together. This like we weren't even in a relationship yet. We were just dancing together. We had been dancing maybe 5 months together when we
Okay.
decided to compete. Yeah.
Beautiful, man.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. And okay, so then that is just because I'm a little bit familiar with how the summit is
Hmm.
that in I believe they added a whole other category now too, because there's like rising star
Correct. Yeah.
and
So
then
we did the pro rising star category.
okay, right. So there's rising star, pro rising star, and then pro.
Correct.
Is that what it is? Okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, because when I was a little bit more involved, or I guess when Salsa Kings was a little bit more involved, it was just those two, and then I had recently heard that they added one there in the middle as well. Is there
Correct.
what's the differentiation now? I guess pro is like maybe both pro, and then is that what it is? Pro Rising
So
Star is one and then one.
I believe I you can't quote me on this, but what I believe it is, it's about experience. So if you're super experienced, you go into the pro category. If you're just stepping your toe into the competing and stuff like that, but you're a pro, you can do the pro rising star.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rising star, it's the amateur with their director.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So then now the director is also being judged
No, it's just the student being judged. The pro
in in
rising
in
star.
Rising Star. Only the student.
Correct. Correct. There's rising star. Yeah.
So then before Rising Star, isn't there levels like um beginner, intermediate, advanced, stuff like that?
Yeah, but that's a whole different category. That's not rising star.
That's what I mean. So then what's the difference between advanced, pro am
Hmm.
advanced,
Hmm.
where there's right where the only the student is being judged in advanced versus Rising Star, or is Rising Star just considered to be above advanced?
Yeah, so I believe what the rising star categories are is for people that are taking this in like a more serious, if that
Right.
makes any sense.
Uh-huh.
That's the categories you want to go into because your goal is ultimately to compete in the pro categories.
Right.
Right. And so like if you win the pro rising star, you can't compete in that category anymore. Now you have to go to pro.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so then yeah, there's definitely a scale
Yeah,
if you
there's
would.
so many categories. There's like
Right.
200, 300 categories. So.
Right, right, right. So that and it's funny because I was literally just working with sending out some messages now to just kind of create that just healthy competition, if you would, that culture, to just continue to promote growth, man. Because here in Miami, believe it or not, a lot of the summits, um, competitors, if you would, are not really from Miami. So we're trying to change that. We're trying to change that little by little, just to embullar la gente, to say, hey, like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. It's more of an experience. It's a lot of fun. Yes, you're going to learn something. Yes, you're going to grow.
Yeah.
And to kind of make that the norm, if you would. So let's go ahead and get started, bro. We're here at 7 o'clock. Let me hide you all. For those of you that are online and tuning in, thank you all so much for doing so. We're gonna go ahead and get started. And again, please join us in this conversation. If there was an ability to add you on in video as well, we so totally would. This is so much for you guys. There's only so many amazing questions that I can ask from my perspective. Go ahead and participate with us, please. So go ahead and don't be shy with using the comment section there. All right, let's go ahead and get started. It is 7 p.m. Familia, welcome back. Andres Fernandez here with another amazing interview. Salsa Kings Live, episode 146. EGOS. As you know, for those of you that have listened to the podcast before, all of our interviewees select their own topic of interest that they feel very passionate about. And Mr. DJ Dougy Fresh has selected EGOS, which, as you know, is certainly one of my personal favorites with regards to how important it is for or how much it affects growth. And as you know, that's one of our favorite topics here. Who is Mr. DJ Dougy Fresh? We'll find out. First of all, we'll find out his name. We'll let him say what his birth name is. If he actually, it may be first name Dougy, last name Fresh. We'll find out that shortly. But he's been dancing since 1995. Has trained alongside some of the best in the world, including Jason Molina, Kimberly Rivera. I was dancing with the Academy of Urban Vibe, and also under Ataka of the Touch Academy as well, for those of you that know Ataca y La Mana. He is a 5-time world champion at the World Salsa Summit, 4 of which is on New York Style Mambo on 2, and 1 time in Bachata Cabaret, meaning lifts and tricks, which is a big deal. He was a franchise owner of the Touch teams in Detroit. He also owned Fama Latin Dance Academy in Colorado for 5 years, and is now currently a co-owner of Evolucion Latina alongside Jose Serrano, for those of you that know him. And the last time with that organization that they competed, Evolucion Latina, at the summit in 2022, they and their students brought home a collective total of 85 gold medals, which that for me personally touches me, because as you know, we can do a lot alone, but it's a whole other thing when you're able to bring an organization with you. So that says a lot about our guest today. And he is now, as of recently, the owner of Miami Dance Center in North Miami Beach. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest so he can introduce himself. My brother, DJ Dougy Fresh. How you doing, bro? Yo,
What
you
up,
just threw
everybody?
on a whole other vibe. You put on a whole other outfit, whole other fit. Yo, let's go. That's what's up. How you doing, man? Thanks so much for hopping
I'm
on, bro.
good. Yeah, thank you for having me, man. What's going on?
Everything good, my bro. First, what is the birth name? Do we have a birth name, or is it first name Dougy, last name Fresh?
I wish my parents were that cool. That's just a name that they used to give me when I was little, Dougie Fresh. You know, there was a DJ named Doug E Fresh, and
Uh-huh.
so it was just a cool name that everyone used to call me, and it stuck. I was like, why not just use that? Everyone's already calling me that.
Beautiful. That sounds good, man. Yeah, it's funny how a lot of our nicknames and stuff, they're we don't really pick them. They're kind of just given to us.
Oh
It's
yeah.
interesting how that's set up for sure. So yeah, man. Again, bro, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Again, for those of you that are just hopping on, again, don't be shy with the comments section. Anything that you like, anything that you hear, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Participate in the conversation, please. This is so much for you guys. So please, brother, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor here. For those of you that don't know, an amazing academy, UV Latin Dance, recently closed down and is now the Miami Dance Center, owned by by Dougie Fresh himself now. And he has been amazingly active in the community and continuing to promote parties. The second that he got here, he hit the ground running, and that makes me super happy because at the end of the day, we're constantly trying to promote naturally, just work ethic and continuing to bring value for all of you, all of our listeners, the Latin dance community as a whole. So, bro, please, I mean, other than the awesome points that you share with me, bro, tell us a little bit about you. Who is DJ Dougie Fresh? A little bit about your past. Did your parents dance? Where are they from? Was that at all related? Because in my case, it wasn't. Um,
Mhm.
you said that you started dancing in '95. Is that like in formal classes, or is that like in your friend's living room, like it was in my case? Like, tell us a little bit about that. I'll give you the floor, brother.
Yeah, for sure. So, like he was saying, I've been dancing since 1995 formally. My In Chicago, we had a lot of youth dance companies because, as you might have heard, Chicago isn't the safest place or the best place to live when it comes to the urban areas. So a lot of the community leaders, they started like dance companies and dance teams. And so my parents, they wanted to keep me out of trouble. So I was doing baseball and dancing.
Nice.
And dance pretty much took over my life, especially when I realized that girls like dance. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So it was a way. I'm blessed because I was able to understand how women should be treated through dance because I was surrounded by so many women and I always wanted to make sure that they were protected. So it was an amazing experience so far for me. I mean, I've been dancing since '95. We're in 2024,
Right.
so geez, what's that? Almost 30 years now.
Yeah. Yep. About
Something
that,
like
man.
that. So yeah, so I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. So I spent my 90% of my life in a dance studio
Wow,
around the
man.
world. Yeah, so I mean, I've trained with some of the best in the world. When I mean the best, I mean the innovators for the dance, especially salsa. Bachata is fairly new, so I'm talking about the pioneers of salsa, like Jason Molina. He was the original Torres dancer, so I got to train under him, and he is like from the family tree of the creator of Antu.
Right.
So I know so much about salsa thanks to all of these people. And my first congress that I choreographed was in 2002. That was for the Chicago Salsa Congress. And I was 15 or 16 with such a big responsibility. I mean, it was our first Congress. It was ran by Eli Rizarri of the Puerto Rico Salsa Congress. And at that
Nice.
time, they had Bacardi as the main sponsor, so it was a huge event. We're talking about, I don't know, 2,500 salseros, and at that time there was no bachata room, so it was just one big salsa room.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I just fell in love even more, and I started traveling. Um, I started um, I started meeting other artists who wanted to work with me and take me under their wing because I was young, but they seen the potential and dedication I had. So I had so many doors open to me, and I lived in Texas, I lived in Dallas, I lived in Houston, I lived in Austin, I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I lived in Denver,
Wow.
Detroit, and I've just danced everywhere I've gone, and I've touched a lot of people through dance that they probably wouldn't even be doing it right now.
Right.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Again, I opened a studio in Denver, Colorado called Fama Latin Dance with my fiance Alejandra. She pretty much handles the teaching. I pretty much handle anything promotional and getting the events together. Um, we're not traveling as much anymore because I want to focus on the studio. But before this, we were traveling 35 to 40 weekends a year, doing
Wow.
festivals, congresses, weekenders. So yeah, that's pretty much my
Wow,
life.
man. That's awesome, man. That's crazy. So, tell me a little bit about you moving around. I mean, is that because you had to? Is it because you were just looking for new places to dance? Like, what's the? I mean, that's a lot of just stress in general. No, I mean,
I mean, it was so when it's something that you love, it's not stress, right? So for me, when I turned 18, I said, I just want to live. I don't have to ask permission anymore. Right. So I said, I'm just going to pick up and go. And I just want to dance. And the first place I moved to was Puerto Rico. Right. And that's
okay,
when I danced with Jason Molina y su rompecabezas.
right,
And that's when it was really big to compete at the Puerto Rico Salsa Open, the biggest competition, the most difficult competition in the world. I don't think I've ever seen a competition like that till this day, where they have live salsa bands and you have to improvise to them. You
nice,
know, so yeah. So then, when I was done with the tours with Jason, I went back home to Chicago, regrouped, and said, "Where do I want to go to next?" I said, I want to try out Texas. Texas is a an amazing place to be. It's not expensive to live. I moved to Texas, and I was in Dallas for 2 years. Um, I was the first person to do on two in Dallas. No one was doing on two when I got there. This was
nice.
in yeah, this was in 2007.
Okay,
There was no on two. People were dancing salsa on one and trying to get on two, but there was really no instructors there. Maybe I think there was maybe two that actually knew what they were doing.
hmm,
And then I came in, and you know me, well, you don't know me, but people that know me know that when I go into something, I like to make noise because it helps with doing stuff like this. And so what I did was the first thing I did was I started a dance team, and
nice,
I went out before. I used to go out social dancing every night, and people would see me and they're like, "Oh, we want to learn." And I was like, "Well, join my team." And by the time I left Dallas, I had about 30 dancers, on
beautiful,
that
man.
team. And then from there, I don't know if you know who Shayla de Jesus is.
No,
All right, do you know Adolfo Indancochea?
yes,
All right, so that's his first partner.
okay,
Yeah, that's his first partner. That's his son's mother. I started
ah,
dancing with
okay,
her at
gotcha,
that time.
gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
because they were no longer together. They separated. She was looking for a partner. Then her and I partnered up. And so I met
Oh,
her because I was dancing with Jason Molina at the time. So
gotcha.
it just kind of all came together. So I danced with her for a while.
Wow,
Then from there, I moved to Houston. Houston was a bigger city. It was like Chicago. People were dancing on two there. And I lived there for about 2 years. And then from there, I was like, all right, it's time to try something new. Then I went to Austin, and I was in Austin. Austin went well. And from there, I just went back to Chicago.
okay,
um, from Chicago, I actually went on the Aventura Dance Cruise.
beautiful.
I met my son's mother on the cruise. So
What?
we got together. Yeah, we got together. We
Wow.
were in a relationship. We had a son. And then from there, I ended up moving to Detroit. And in
Okay.
Detroit, that's when I decided to do a touch team. So I did the Detroit touch team.
Yes.
I had already been working with Ataca, La Alemana, Tigre, Bianca. I'd been working with them for a while already. So it was about that time for me to kind of do my own thing and direct. And so I did a
Nice.
Detroit touch team. It was a good experience. I learned a lot from that experience. And in doing so, I was able to create weekenders there. I was able to create my first festival, which was the Detroit Land Dance Festival. I partnered with Jose Serrano for that.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so that's when actually Jose and I got really close, and we started doing events. Was when we did the Detroit Land Dance Festival. And then from Detroit, I moved back to Chicago. I go back to Chicago every few years just to get my sanity back because that's
Sure.
home. My parents are there, my family. So it's always good to have a small support system where you can
Of course.
always know you're welcome back. So then from there, I met my fiance, and I ended up moving to Denver, and that's where we opened the dance studio. And she was kind of ready to come back because she's originally from here. She's from Boca.
Okay.
So she was ready to come back and be close to her mom. And I was like, sure, we could get out of the cold. Let's go to Florida. And originally, she wanted to open a studio right away. And I said, look, let's, no one really knows us there. I don't really want to make enemies right away. I said, let's go. Let's just be social dancers. Let's meet people, build relationships with the organizers, help them promote their events. And then when it's time, we can, you know, do our thing.
Nice.
And it just so happened the week that we decided, okay, let's start looking for studios. Unfortunately, Yuri and Vero were closing their studio. So I
Wow.
called my real estate person. I was like, hey, like we're really interested in this. Let's make it happen. And here we are.
Boom. And when did that formally happen? When did you formally start? This is very recent,
Uh,
isn't it? I mean if
yes. So we decided to open a studio in November,
okay.
right? So we got literally the last week in October. That's when we started looking for property. And then the first week in November, they announced they were closing. And by the second week in November, we owned the studio.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
It's
So I
crazy,
just
man.
kind
When
of
things are
fell.
meant to be, bro, they just happen. They just
Yeah.
happen. It's wild.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Well,
It's
congrats. That's a huge undertaking. Because they got a, from what I remember, they have a big, beautiful space.
huge. Yeah.
Um, is it 2 stories?
So we didn't want to take on that type of responsibility. So we just took one unit out of the four that they had.
Ah, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great. That's probably better. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good idea. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So I didn't even know that was possible that they're able to do that. So then they had a total of 4 units, is what you're saying. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
So does that mean that they are available for you? Well, I guess it depends if they have somebody else's rents the spot, right? As of right now, they're still available.
So they are no longer available, and I'm
Oh
actually
wow.
waiting for one of my neighbors to finish up their lease so I can take the second space.
Right. Okay. Cool, man. Cool. Jimmy Sad says congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you.
And Carmen says the passion for what you love is what's making you move. So that's cool
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Awesome, man. All right. So that's a big deal, bro. That's a big deal. And again, as I always mention to everybody, Salsa Kings is here to help, is here to support in any way that we can. For what it's worth, we do, and notice my pronunciation, salsa. That's what we teach, right? We focus on the beginners of the beginners. We introduce regular people to get them to understand the music. We don't even explain that there is a difference between on one and on two. It's just being on rhythm and
Mm-hmm.
getting them comfortable enough to actually go out to a Latin party, a salsa party, a family Latin party, and be comfortable enough holding somebody else with respect and moving to the rhythm of the music, underarm turn, whatever. And not even necessarily formal, all in rotation, like nothing
Hmm.
other than the timing. Basically, the timing is the anchor essentially that connects us all, the music, right?
Right.
So then from there, those that wish to pursue more, then of course they have a plethora of options depending on their geographical location. So that's more of what we're going for. But absolutely, man, in any way, shape, form, or fashion that we can help, we're definitely we got your back, bro. We admire what you're doing, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out. But specifically for today, um, let's talk about the topic. What?
Okay. Can I pause
Why?
you really quick?
Huh?
Can I say something
Of
really quick?
course, please.
All right. So I know that you said you teach salsa, but it is studios like yours that open the door for so many people to come in and even try it, right? Because there's other studios that might be bigger, but being bigger means more. Um, you have to be a little bit more brave to enter and want to be with those dancers. So like our studio, we're just getting started. And so we make it very comfortable. You have to make it comfortable for people so that way they can come back. A lot of I'm gonna just be honest, a lot of studios don't do that. They're more business, they have the business mindset versus taking care of the student and introducing them to the community.
Yes.
Um, so I appreciate you for what you do.
For sure, man. For sure. Again, we've been doing this for a long time. Salsa Kings has been open for now 26 years. And we feel that this is more of our place as a brand,
Hmm.
to just spread the love of Latin dance as a whole, regardless of whether it's in your blood or not.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
everybody can experience this magic that's on the dance floor. You know, without millions of dollars of training. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I'm
Yeah,
exaggerating, but I think you get the idea. Um,
yeah.
and
Well, and
essentially, of course, go ahead. I'm sorry.
you also have like one of the best dancers in the United States at your studio, which is Jeanette.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And
You know.
she's by us. She started her Latin dance training, with us, which is
Yeah.
obviously an honor. But yeah, no, we're super blessed to have her. Our students absolutely love her, for sure. And then of course, naturally, those that want further training with us, then they can, of course, they have access to us. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. But I guess you could say overall, the general model being the most basic beginners as much as possible. And then just spreading out geographically, just making it more accessible, because if it's not close, it's not really something that you could do online.
Yeah.
You got to physically touch, you got to physically got to drive there, and feel it, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
But thank you either way. Thank you. We,
Of
we
course.
we appreciate you for noticing, for sure. And so let's talk about why. Oh, there you go. Let's just roll with that. Why egos? Why? Because you said that quickly. Because I asked you,
Yeah.
and you were like, "Let's talk about how egos affect the community." I'm like, "Boom!" Yeah, and that's a big deal. So please, like, what's your? Let's go ahead and start to pick at this.
Yeah.
What
Yeah. Of
what has been
course.
your experience with? I mean, we're talking about directing teams. We're talking about studio owner. We're talking about lots of interactions with obviously other directors, other studio owners, even technically even bosses. Because I mean, if you're a franchise owner of the touch team, technically you got to report to somebody.
Hmm.
Um, in the competitive scene, right? You have people that are competing against you. Some are not necessarily so nice, for lack of better words. I'm sure. Business partners, right? How does all of that affect um, one's growth, one's path, one's peace, even?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can only speak from personal experience, and to be honest, I've been on both sides of the ego issue. Especially when I was younger, I thought I was untouchable. I thought I was the best thing for the dance community. And then once we get older, we realize that we need to push that ego to the side, because what happens is when people start to realize that your intentions aren't for them and it's more for you and to build what you want to build instead of building for a community, they push away from you.
Mm,
And so, I've had that issue for myself, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because I have had ego issues, and coming to Miami, it was a blessing because I was able to come in not having that ego anymore, and in doing so, I've been able to be super successful in the short amount of time that I've been here. I've been
nice.
able to work with almost every single organizer in the community, and them understanding that I don't have an ego and willing to do whatever I can to help them has created a space for me that might have never been there if I would have been acting the way I used to act. And so,
Huge, man. Huge.
yeah, it is huge. It is huge. And me coming here, knowing what I know and seeing what I'm seeing, I'm like, oh, I know what that is because I used to be like that.
Right. Right.
No, and it's just kind of funny to me to watch. There people talk, And at this point in my life, I just listen. I don't comment on things, just because I know when you comment, those comments get around. If I do want to say something, I will say very specifically to the person or in the conversation, so that way there aren't any words twisted around. No, I said what I said, and I meant what I said.
Right. No,
So, yeah.
absolutely, man. And and props, because as you know, that's not an easy thing to do, of course, to drop the ego, right? Because we still, at the end of the day, if we're going, if we're si estamos andando with una corazón abierta, right? If we're emotionally feeling, if we would, because we still have feelings, we still can get hurt, right? And obviously the first thing that wants to respond is our ego, to protect ourselves, to defend ourselves, and it takes a lot of work or practice, one of the two, right? um,
Hmm.
to swallow that and to move on, to learn, whether it be about ourselves or about the other person or both simultaneously sometimes, and to move on. And I think there's a lot that can be said about that, about you with that. So just from me to you, props, bro, de verdad. Um, and it is appreciated from the other side, um,
Hmm.
whether in either regard, whether that person is being confronted because of something that was said, or if you're saying nothing, later on that clicks, I believe, right? That clicks. That be like, you know what? Dougie never said anything negative about me, or he never made me feel bad. Um, and that has a lot to do with, of course, those relationships that at least can be created in the future because of that. So I think you hit it right on the head. And the time that you spent creating those relationships before opening your studio, I think that was a great move as well. I
Yeah.
think the ego could want us to like get in and move because we're scared, right? And we got to make money and we got to do it quick. And who cares about anybody else? We got to defend ourselves. And there's a lot that can be perceived. So again, that's awesome, bro. That's what's up. Um,
Thank you.
for sure. And I definitely think that the looking back, and we're able to have a lot more. Is it compassion? Because knowing, okay, I was like that. And God knows that I was exactly the same way, bro. I think we all end up
Uh,
learning the hard way, man. And
Someone
it's
has,
yeah,
everyone has a little bit of that in them.
for sure, bro. For sure, for sure. So okay, so then now I guess let's be a little bit more specific on moving forward without it. I guess, what are you able to see or feel without it? What advantages maybe have you been able to, other than what you've mentioned, of course, about the relationships, um,
Mhm.
maybe about how things are perceived on your end, um, creating more opportunities, perhaps, than what is just like maybe presented initially because of the ego. Like later on, after we breathe and present, I guess you could say, like, oh, coño, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And it's actually better in multiple cases because of that. I don't know, just an example, I'm not sure. But what would you say some of the advantages of I guess just taking a breather, and waiting to respond versus react?
Yeah, for me, it's still a work in progress,
Well said,
right?
bro. Well said.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. It's not something that comes overnight, and so even till this day, I'm like, oh, I should respond. Oh, I should call them. And just not and not doing so, it's been a lot more positive.
Right.
Um, just because other people see it, so I don't even have to say anything.
Yep.
People see it for themselves, and they defend me. So I sit back and let people say what they want to say if they have something to say. And if I have something to say that I feel is super important, I will bring it up, and I bring things up publicly, so that way there isn't any miscommunication.
Right.
Uh, and I think it's been super positive so far for me in being able to handle things the way that I have. I mean, because when you have nothing, there's nothing to lose, right? So
Okay.
I have a lot to lose right now, and so I wouldn't put myself in a position to lose. I don't want to lose our students. I don't want to lose friendships with other leaders in the community. So I'll sit down and have a conversation with anyone that needs to have that conversation, if that makes any sense.
Right, right, right. No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think there was I forget who said this. Um but they said ultimately uh that at the very minimum it needs to be two of the three, if not all three, if you're going to say something
Hmm.
nice, necessary, or useful.
Yeah.
Like nice and necessary. It has to be those two, or nice and useful, or useful and necessary, right?
Yeah.
At least two of the three, for it to like almost like pass the filter
Hmm.
of, because just one alone. I mean, I guess other than nice, but um, if it's just, let's say useful, for example, um, that's not always uh, that not always taken, I guess you could say, the right way, because
Yeah. Of course.
one thing is us saying something, another thing is how it's perceived, and I
Correct.
think and I think sometimes that is overlooked, perhaps.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Another thing that I realized is r- writing things and putting them in chats doesn't help. So what I've come to do is, if I have something to say that's important, I make a video and I'll put them in whatever group chats we have, so that way people can see see what I'm saying versus just interpreting it in their
Feel
own way.
right. Nice. Okay. I see you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So that it's not misinterpreted, right? Like as you're saying.
Correct.
Right, 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 right. Okay, cool. I guess what without could you paint some scenarios, fictitious or not, as to where the ego could be strung or picked in your experience? Like, okay, there was a time that X, Y, and Z happened, and I felt this way, and I wanted to respond this way, and I did, or I wanted to respond this way, and I didn't, and this is what happened because of it. Like, what is, I guess, just to get some, for I guess the people to get a little bit more of an understanding of, okay, when I'm, I guess there's a difference between like just being like bothered and then having your ego struck. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
those are like two different things, and to have that maybe identified or easier identified, because it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Um, just so that we can have a little bit more like, what, this is happening right now. Let me pause. Let me reflect, and let me take some time or whatever to figure it out. And I think a lot of people think that that's like, again, like, which I hate, like, oh, you're just good at that. Like, no, no, we're not just good at that. This is a lot of practice. This is a lot of like messing up,
Yeah.
and just trying as best as we can, to be better and to
Yeah.
not upset people and to go
Yeah.
peacefully, right? So what
Yeah.
what what would you say, or what's one that comes to mind?
I mean, something that comes to mind is my partnership with my fiance, right?
Okay.
Plays a
Oh my
huge
god.
part,
Perfect. Okay.
especially when we're choreographing. I think I know more than she does. She thinks she knows more than I do, and so that is a test. That is a
Wow.
huge test. And so, you know, I don't know everything, but think I do. And so when we're choreographing, I'm like, no, it's got to be like this. And then, um, she's the same way. She's a little better at it than I am, at pushing her ego to the side.
Sure.
But yeah, that's literally one of the biggest things I have to overcome is on the choreography side of it. And it's
Sure.
funny because people are like, "Oh my God, you guys have so much connection and are so amazing," and they don't understand what it took to get there because they don't see the arguments or the fights or walking out and slamming doors and and having to make up over
Right.
the over the arguments. So yeah, I think that's probably an amazing example of
Bro,
the
it's probably
ego.
the best example, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge, bro. I mean, because I mean, at the end of the day, right? This is someone that that you've committed your life to, right? And I think that if there's anybody that's going or excuse me, that has the pick to string our ego, because essentially we've kind of like openly given it to them, right?
Hmm.
Um, willingly, of course, and
Right.
and then any little thing, it's just it's maybe even magnified, right? Just because of guess who it's coming from. I guess because our ego wouldn't be struck so much if we didn't care, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But oh my
So
god.
I found the cheat code to avoiding that.
Okay, let's go. Drop it.
so so when we're in the process of doing stuff and we get into an argument,
Uh-huh.
I kind of like breathe in really quick and I say, look, you're better at this than I am, but I've been doing this longer than you have, so let's try to figure this out.
Okay. Nice. Yeah,
So
bro.
that it brings down the tension. So that's just a little cheat for at least
That's
for us.
100%, bro. 100%. It's more like, hey, I acknowledge you. I know that you acknowledge me. Let's figure this out. This is normal. And I think that also is also really overlooked. And I had to learn this the hard way too. Because here I am going through the world thinking that there's only one way to process information, my way, you know, um, and there's just so and it's so it's I think it's overlooked that people think differently just naturally. And I think that for me, at least I guess you could say cheat code has been like, only because also I've been really blown away by a lot of the people that I just been around in my life, thank God. And it's just like I just I keep my mouth shut and I ask a question, and it's like, hey, like maybe let's say in your case, in your example, let's say I was doing a choreography with somebody, and I'd say, okay, well, show me if you were to do it, how you would do it. And there's so much times it's like, oh my God, I would have never thought of that. That's amazing. Let's grab this piece. So I guess ultimately it's just like I guess the way that we get there can be different, which kind of like maybe at least it shut me off from even like
Mhm.
listening further, you know? Because there's only so much that can be represented in one sentence, two sentences, right?
Right.
I think it's maybe easier for us guys to be more direct. I don't know what your experience is with that. Like, I think that we can say a lot in like a sentence or two.
Yeah.
But I think generally speaking, of course, women are able to be a lot more. They can include a lot more if they have more words to say overall.
Right.
Versus like when we say that one sentence, it's like there's nothing really else for me to add because I said everything in that one sentence.
Right.
You
I'm
know,
like,
you know.
yeah.
For sure. No, but dude, that's oh my god, that's probably the best. I couldn't have asked for a better example. No, for sure. Um, so let's say for example, someone is not in a relationship. Um, let's go. I guess any other example would work, just because I think that's the best. Honestly, that's the best example. Um, but what would be another one? Tell me another one that kind of comes to mind. Maybe like I don't know if it would be with a best friend, or is there even a way for yourself? Is there a way for us to bother us? I don't know the answer to that question, by the way. I'm just
Hmm. Hmm.
You know?
Sure. Gotta think about that one.
Right? And maybe not, and maybe not. You know,
Right.
maybe it is, maybe that is the nature of the ego, that it's other people, you know, that obviously reflect other parts of us,
Mm-hmm.
that is just trying to bring awareness to things that we don't like or that we want to change about ourselves. And the ego, defeating the ego, is the first way to make that happen. But of course, that's much easier said than done.
Right.
You know, I could tell you one maybe for me. Um, I actually recorded an episode on this not too long ago. My first time. Um, the reason why I got into dance was I guess what pushed me over the edge was an ego strike. It was another guy dancing with my girl. Period. I was just like, nah, not me. This is never happening again. That's it. It's that simple. Like, it's that simple. And I think that for me, it was just like, it was an attack. Obviously, this is how I took it, right? This is not the case, but it was an attack on me, that I can't provide that experience for my girl, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think obviously I think that's more of a common one, particularly for a lot of non-dancers, especially me. I came, my, I would say my grandparents are Latinos. My parents are American. I mean, my dad was born in Cuba, but he came in when he was like 2. Very proud Americans. Let's just put it that way. And I don't wish it to be any other way. But my Latin dance experience was not even my Cuban grandparents danced. Like, so you could say that I kind of was brought into this, if you would, without any previous experience. But that was, I want to say I was, maybe like 17 when that happened. And I was like, nope, nope, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to figure this out. That's probably a very simple one, but at least for me, was very, very strong. To a point where, yeah, it can drive us. It can definitely drive us, depending obviously on how we shape it, right? Because it can definitely drive us to do negative things too. Dance has been one of the most positive influences in my life, so I'm grateful for it. Um, Granted, as long as we take it in the right way and in the positive way, um,
Yeah.
for sure, man. So okay, so then I guess talking about moving forward, um, the future, if you would, what is best for all of our listeners? By the way, thank you guys so much for continuing to tune in. If you have drop a comment on something that bothered you, whether it was in the dance scene or at the job. Sometimes it's those that are closest to us, or the ones that kind of strike us the most, if you would. Tell us about a personal experience, and we could talk about that. We'd love to hear from you. But for those of us that are moving on, that kind of want to work on this, if you would, what would you say would be the easiest way? I know we've talked about just like kind of taking a breath and stuff like that. But what exactly are we reflecting on? You know, what are those tools per se, that we can go to, that can kind of help with this? Because again, dude, I'm looking at your stuff, bro. You've gone through, between competitions and responsibility with leadership, whether it be in a business or directing teams. There's a lot of personalities, that need to be dealt with. And not everybody takes direction well, or at least in our way, you know.
Right.
And I think our ability to mold, um, to ultimately deliver the message, because that's all we're trying to do, right? We're just delivering a message.
Yeah.
What would be some tools, or one that's helped you, to kind of push forward through this, if you would?
For me, I mean, now that I'm older, I'm ready to settle down, and for me, it's more like, what do I want my legacy to look like? So
Oof.
having an ego, I mean, we're gonna have it regardless, but controlling our ego
Mm-hmm.
is super important. Um, like I said, I want to build something positive. I did a lot of negative things throughout my life that I just kind of I'm trying to make up for now. and in doing so, it's what's actually pushed me to try to be the person that people want to confide in, I guess.
Nice.
I
Okay.
want, I we opened the studio, and the number one thing, I mean, we have Yelp reviews, we have Google reviews, people telling other people that they like the most about our studio is the energy in there. And so there are specific types of people that I keep in my circle, and those are the people that bring that energy. I give everyone a chance, but the moment that I feel that someone has ulterior motives or isn't producing the energy that we want in our space, then we kind of have to, like, just kind of remove them, or just not
Sure.
give them the attention that they want or deserve. And so
Naturally.
we've only had two socials at our studio, and our first social we had 150 people, a little bit more than that. Second social, it was the holidays, St. Patrick's Day. We still had about 80 people. That's huge
That's
for a
huge.
studio that's been open 3 months.
That's huge,
And
man.
it's just that it's no, I don't have an ego in the studio. It's not my studio, it's our studio.
Right.
you know when someone has a birthday party, I go beyond putting them on a flyer.
Right.
It's beyond giving them a cake. It's making sure they're having a good time. It doesn't cost me anything to comp you and three or four of your friends for an event,
Right.
if that's going to make you happy. It's just things like that, and people appreciate that, and that's why we have been getting the response we have been getting.
Absolutely, man. There's no doubt about it, bro. That's huge. So I would say, you take the time to check it, or your response, or your reaction, I should say, with who you
Hmm.
are. That's what I heard. It's
Yeah,
like I have what's the legacy that I leave behind? I think that was huge. And essentially what we do is the direct reflection of who we are.
right,
And what we say is right along with that, or at least with regards to other people.
right.
So yeah, man, I agree. I couldn't agree more, man. I think this is definitely something that was is worth talking about for sure, and I appreciate you bringing this up and creating the opportunity so that we can, man. No doubt about it, bro. For those of you that are listening, again, by all means, go ahead and drop some love in the comments, or if you have any questions for Mr. Dougie Fresh here, by all means, we'd be more than happy to answer for you. But dude, I mean, I think this was awesome. I mean, unless you have anything further to say, I think we've concluded. I think we've done. You've killed it. You killed it. You talked about so much amazing things. Your personal experience, mostly. Your interaction with your fiance on a lot of leadership stuff. And I think that type of relationship, kind of reflecting, if you would, each other, right? We learn a lot about ourselves through those interactions, if you would, and through those
Yeah.
people, which is
Yeah.
totally cool, man, for sure. Where can people find you? Where can people find your studio? Um, this is your time. Go. Like, what
Yeah.
your socials? I
Yeah.
don't know if you have. You're planning on maybe even doing an annual event sometime, or tell us about your plans for your business moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. So you can always find us at the miamidancecenter.com. All of our information are on there. You can even find my Instagram, my Facebook, Alejandra's Instagram, her Facebook. All of our information is on there. All of our events are on there as well. We do a weekly social every Monday, and that one is directly for the community. It's completely free for everyone. We just do it
Nice,
from the bottom of our hearts so everyone can practice and have some more to meet. And Mondays is amazing. We get 30, 40 people on a Monday consistently. On Friday, this Friday, we have a pop up social at the Miami Dance Center. Starting next Friday, I work directly with Central Movement, and they're going to be doing every Friday. It's called Central Fridays. It's going to be at it's called the Arts Dance Studio, or Arts Dance Miami. It's in, I think, Wynwood, I believe. It's
nice.
somewhere over there. And then every Sunday, we're in Hollywood at the Garage Bar. That event is 100% free as well. Yeah, and we're here for whatever you guys need. If you just need someone to talk to about dance and how to progress, we're always here for you. Don't hesitate to call us. I always respond. I'm here for you.
I love it. I love it. Dougie, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so, so much for everything you continue to do. Again, brother, I hope Miami continues to welcome you. Salsa Kings does, that's for sure. And I look forward to seeing a lot more of you, man. De verdad.
Yeah, I hope you can stop by the studio sometime.
Yes, yes. I need to do that. I'll come by for sure for the socials, man. That sounds awesome,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
De verdad.
yeah. Our fresh social, we have we call it the fresh social. It's on the third Saturday of every month. We bring in artists from all over. In April, we have Taylor and Luis, super popular bachata couple. So if you want to
Beautiful.
come by, and we charge $10 in advance, which is very rare to find in Miami.
No doubt.
So come check us out.
Absolutely, brother. Sounds good, man. An absolute pleasure. Thank you guys for continuing to tune in. Love you guys so much. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye.